everyone to my stream. My name is Dorota. I'm a pentester, and this stream began as my dream because I wanted to start one for like 2 years already. But like creating my own space and sharing my journey because I love learning and I want to share a lot of technical stuff in here too. And I'm called the Wonder Woman of Cyber. And today I wanted to introduce Kim Crawley. She's an idol of mine. Like I really love her, so I'm a big fan. And maybe I'll be a bit too excited here, but I hope a bit less than last time. And so yeah, I prepared something. Wikipedia page. So I would read from the Wikipedia page who Kim is. So Kim Crawley is a Canadian author of books and articles on IT security specifically, and on hacker and computer literacy in general. Of Maltese descent, her first hand-on experience with computer was with her novelist father's Windows 3.1 OAM PC. Her IT career began with being employed as customer support, which first piqued her interest in malware. A wide-ranging consultant, freelancer, self-described generalist, she has written and consulted for tech companies such as BlackBerry, Nginx, Synapse, Hack the Box, and passed her certified information system security professional exam on her first attempt while writing a book. She has published for O'Reilly Media, Pact Publishing, John Wiley & Sons, etc., and lives in Toronto, Canada, where she maintains a punk god aesthetic and do-it-yourself ethos. And at first I wanted to comment that I do like Kim's background more than mine because mine is fake, but she's inviting you into her room, so I want to give her the voice now too because I just read it from Wikipedia, but maybe she can introduce herself in her own words because she's awesome and like yeah.
Yeah, so I am a cybersecurity researcher and writer, and now a cybersecurity professor as well at the Open Institute of Technology. So I teach my very first semester this September, so I'm really excited about that. I've written, a handful of books. Dorota is a big fan, and it was an honor of me to send her an autographed copy of one of my books. And I'm interested in all areas of cybersecurity and computing history and computer science and information technology. And wow, did we ever have a cyber event yesterday? Because teams around the world shut down because Crowdstrike pushed a bad patch to all these systems, and it's impacted people's lives, millions and millions and millions of people's lives all over the world. So
Yeah, a lot of stress yesterday. So
so yeah.
what is your take on that? Because like my take is like maybe test before going to production or like deploying, but like what is your take?
100%. I agree with you completely. Like they definitely should have tested those patches before they deployed them. And then I've heard from other people who really specialize in patch management that one particular patch management methodology is that you deploy patches to just a few systems at a time and see how that goes. So if you really mess up, you only mess up 1,000 networks and not 1,000,000 networks. Um, but I mean, definitely, like CrowdStrike has the resources to deploy. They probably already have like very large virtual networks that they could use for testing these patches, where all the different types of enterprise computer systems that this patch could be deployed to could be emulated in the virtual network. But it seems to be, and I don't care who hears this. I think the leadership of CrowdStrike, that CEO guy, apparently he messed things up at McAfee back in 2010 or so. I think he seems to me, based on the little bit that I know about him, his name isn't even coming to my mind right now, but he seems to me like a really greedy, I care more about next quarterly profits and spending money on expertise and doing things the right way is money that's cutting into my potential profits kind of guy. So I think like really like corporate greed is a factor. And then another factor is there isn't enough diversity in operating systems and threat intel platforms. Like there are other flat threat intel platforms other than CrowdStrike. Like there's Mandiant, and Mandiant's been bought by Google, for instance. But there's too much domination of CrowdStrike. So when CrowdStrike messes up, it affects a lot more people. And like Microsoft, like Windows Server has competition with Red Hat and whatnot. And Azure has competition with AWS and Google Cloud and IBM Cloud and a bunch of other cloud platforms. We need to see more diversity in all these areas so that one big glitch doesn't impact billions of people.
Maybe Microsoft is rethinking who they are partnering with. But overall, my take on that is like CrowdStrike took it pretty good, and they published material like and fixes pretty quickly on their blog and like on their page. So and like there is like full transparency on what happened. So they are not hiding anything. So I think that is good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the last time there was a big story like this, like on this scale, because I mean, this isn't a cyber attack, but there are cyber threats and cyber incidents, and this is definitely a cyber incident, even though it's not a cyber attack. They happen like every day, but the last time there was one that was this big, like on this scale, was probably WannaCry, the WannaCry ransomware in 2017, but that was a cyber attack,
Yeah,
right? So, ah,
it makes you think, right?
I think if any companies can cease their vendor relationship with CrowdStrike and go with someone else, they should.
Yeah, that will probably happen now. So I have a question from the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, how is it possible for us viewers to have a penetration testing book signed from you?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm really honored. Thank you. Well, I'm on a few different social media platforms right now. So I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Mastodon. And if you message me through one of those platforms, we can talk about that. I am more than happy to autograph books. I've done that for Dorota.
Yes.
Or I believe also on my link tree, there's also a link to one of my email addresses, and you can email me about that too. On Mastodon, you're gonna have to look this up, but I'm Crowgirl at that's the correct address.
Does your name have something to do with the movie?
Oh, you mean the Crow?
Yeah,
Actually, not. It's my surname Crawley means Crow Valley.
that's right.
So
Okay.
I have I have crows going up my neck like a tattoo. I
Okay.
have Crow Girl as a knuckle tattoo. So I'm pretty committed to using that as I guess a hacker handle or whatever now. So
My tattoo is on my ankle, so I'm not showing my feet here. But there's a bike, so
I bet your tattoo looks pretty cool.
yeah, it shows my main passion in life actually, that I like to spend my time on two wheels somewhere in the forest. So yeah, that's me. Also, okay, so I I found a lot of books that you write, but one of them was really interesting because I didn't know about it before. It's Tribe of Hackers. I found it
Yeah.
on O'Reilly, and you said this in this like at the beginning of your chapter. This is purely anecdotal, but I would say more than half of the cyber threats that corporations face involve social engineering at some level or another. Uh, and then you said, I'm someone with a mind of sociologist, and I'm really happy to write about topics like social engineering scams, cyber attacks that involve deceiving human beings. Uh, can you elaborate? Because this is actually a topic that I'm really interested in. And uh, yeah,
Well, yeah, like for instance, one of the most common cyber threats, which leads, well, is ransomware, right? I would say more than 50% of the time, the way that ransomware attacks first enter an enterprise network is through phishing, right?
yes,
So there'd be a phishing email, there could be a link to a malicious website, or the phisher could get sensitive credentials out of the person by scamming them. So that's social engineering. And ransomware is one of the biggest cyber threats around because, these days we've got the more sophisticated ransomware that doesn't just keep data away from the victim by encrypting it with a key that they don't have access to, but also it's more sophisticated because they actually threaten to breach people's data. And most of the recent ransomware groups, like Locket, for instance, it's pretty normal for enterprise ransomware now to threaten to post a company's sensitive data onto the ransomware group's own website or in a database that is sold on the dark web. So yeah, I mean, people think that cybersecurity is really technologically sophisticated, and it can be, definitely. But there's always a human element, and the social engineering stuff is stuff that has existed in humanity and in human society long before the electronic computers existed. Like
yeah.
there were con artists and whatnot. So,
For me, it's really interesting that you can know everything about every system, and then how you actually hack a company, call them and tell them you're a technician and you need the password for this page and like this account, and you're in. So years of studying of like this really complicated things, super technical, and then like one phone call, you're just being nice to someone else, and bam, you're in. I'm into cover access now. Social engineering is part of it as well, because to enter a building, you have to distract the guards, or like I don't know, talk with the cleaning lady, for example, to get her badge or like access. So yeah, it's like I think it's very interesting. And yeah, do you want to say something more about this topic?
yeah, I mean, everything that you're saying is absolutely correct, right? Like you can have the strongest defenses, but if someone with access to the building says, "Oh yeah, I'll let you in, come on,"
Yeah, you're a
then
nice
it's all
person.
for
Yeah.
naught, right? I mean, there are two ways to go about dealing with this, right? You can, and we know about that. We've this. It's been an ideal in cybersecurity for decades. The principle of least privilege, which is you give people only as much access as they need to do their jobs and no more than that. And that's an access control principle that's supposed to be applied. How well it actually is applied in a lot of organizations, who knows? But if you limit the amount of access people have, then a phishing attack theoretically might be less likely to do harm, right? And then the other way to go about it is to train people. And like, these are social engineering tactics. This is what phishing looks like. And it's getting really difficult now to train like phishing awareness. I mean, first of all, a lot of people who are like cybersecurity experts get fooled by social engineering and phishing specifically as well. So no one should feel like, oh, I'm too smart to be fooled. Because as soon as you think I'm too smart to be fooled, then I think you're easier to fool, right? So you gotta like understand that you're imperfect and you can make mistakes, right? And I can make mistakes. I've been targeted with phishing a few times in the past year, and they almost got me, almost. So I'm not going to overestimate myself. And then the other issue is now that we have more generative AI,
Yeah.
right? We, for a while, for like at least like a few years now, we've had more deep fakes, which are like really realistic looking live action videos of people that are fake, right? And then we also have AI applications that imitate someone's voice.
Yeah.
So you could get a phone call from someone and, oh, I recognize this voice. It's my mother. Oh, my mother is asking me to send her money. She needs help. And we used to be able to trust that. Oh, I can hear my mother's voice on the call, so I can trust that, right? But now that could be a computer program imitating your mother to scam you. So I've already been advising people and advising myself as well that if you get contacted out of the blue like that, even if it sounds exactly like the person that you already know and trust, say, try and get confirmation that they are who they say that they are. Like say, okay, mom, I want to help you, but you know what? I'm going to call you back and then we can continue this conversation. So then if you're phoning your mom's number, that it's
Yeah.
more likely to actually be her, right? Companies should not penalize employees for being suspicious if they get an email that says, oh, we're the company's tech support department, we need your password for something. Or we need you to use one of the company bank accounts to send money to this other account, right? If employees are skeptical and they want to email their boss or the CEO or whoever for verification, was this really you? Were you the one did you actually send this email that purports to be from you? Those employees should never, ever, ever be punished for that. And it's really difficult in a lot of companies' corporate culture. It makes sense for an employee to be scared that if their CEO emails them asking them to do something, that they're going to get in trouble for emailing their CEO or phoning their CEO and saying, did you really send this message? But that's why it's so important for the executives to make it clear you are not going to be punished for asking for verification.
Yeah. That's
In fact, we'll reward you. We'll reward you for being skeptical because that means that you're less likely to be phished.
yeah. You are vigilant here. So I have a question from the chat. Is it that hard to find these who scam people on websites like eBay? What branch of security is for this type of work to find the bad guys?
Yeah, so that there's threat intel, right? For eBay especially, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they got law enforcement involved for the more serious incidents. I would basically, it falls under digital forensics incident response because digital forensics might be used to investigate the incident, and incident response is the very act of responding to an incident, right? So yeah, mainly DFIR, digital forensics incident response, I think. Yeah. And I haven't had firsthand experience with being scammed on eBay, although I'm absolutely certain that it's a common problem. I really hope that eBay has a department of people who will respond to eBay vendors and customers who make them aware that something suspicious is going on. And it definitely needs to be human beings that deal with this, and it can't just be a bunch of automated scripts.
Yeah, but like my point of view of this is, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So just be cautious and like think.
No one's going to sell you a PlayStation 5 for $10.
So yeah, and I wanted to move to your books. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead.
so yeah, I didn't read that one yet, but it looks super interesting. The Pentesting Blueprint that you wrote with Philip Wiley.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I looked through the book on O'Reilly, and it looks amazing as like a introductory manual for pen testers or like wannabe pen testers, and like there's like certification, building a pen testing lab, educational resources, what kind of a plan you want to develop. Yeah, can you tell me more, everyone, about this book?
Yeah, this is my most commercially successful book, and it is. I'm gonna brag. This is my opportunity to brag. If you look on Amazon, this is the number one best-selling book on pen testing careers. Not on pen testing in general, how to be a, the craft and the science and the technology of pen testing, but more how to get a job as a pen tester, right? So yeah, I'm very proud of it. Phil Wiley has a lot more pen testing experience than I do. So my job with co-writing that book was more to flesh it out with what is the context in cybersecurity for all this knowledge. And pen testers, the work that and you're a pen tester, you know all about this. The work that pen testers do has a direct effect on what the blue team does, the defensive security professionals. Your job as a pen tester is, right? Like your job as a pen tester is to discover these vulnerabilities by simulating cyber attacks. And there's gotta be some give and take and some cooperation with the blue team, and so that you can help them do their jobs better by informing them of vulnerabilities and exploits and whatnot. And that's called, when the blue team, and I'm preaching to the choir, when the blue team and the red team get together, that's called purple teaming. So yeah, I mean, I if there are people who've had successful careers in pen testing with the help of this book, then I am just really honored about that. So yeah.
Yeah, I wish I knew about this book when I first started, because it's manual, all the advice is there. Great book. Yeah. And so, okay, then I was reading this book today. It's on my site, Cloud Pen Testing. Uh,
It was a
and
hard book to write.
yeah, it's about AWS, Azure, and GCP applications and how to pen test. I really like there's at the beginning there's introduction into like what pen testing is, what is like vulnerability, what is yeah, what kind of permissions you need to pen test cloud and like zero trust networks.
So yeah, this book, which I spent much of last year working on, was the most difficult book I have ever done. And the reason for that is it's the most technical book I've ever written. And it's full of step-by-step tutorials for running vulnerability scans in AWS and Azure and GCP. When I was working on that book, I had to deploy my own AWS and GCP and Azure instances. And I mean, I give everyone full credit. I got some of the best vulnerability scanning scripts from various developers on GitHub. And yeah, I do properly credit all of the script authors. And every time I wrote a tutorial, there was a team of people testing it to make sure that everything worked properly. And there are links to videos, so I made videos by taking, video screenshots of what I was doing at the command line when I was vulnerability scanning in these various cloud platforms. And it was really fulfilling, and it was a I'm really proud of it, but it was a very, very difficult book to write. Like I'm really proud of it though. Like there's all kinds of really useful tutorials for people. And unfortunately, if you're pen testing a cloud network, most of the time you can't really actually pen test. You're limited to
Yeah.
vulnerability scanning most of the time. But yeah, because the company doesn't own the infrastructure, right? You know all this, so I'm just like saying it for other people. Amazon and Google and Microsoft and these other companies own the infrastructure. So you have to abide by their rules. But if you are pen testing AWS, for instance, I found that AWS is the most likely to give you permission to do things like stress testing, like simulating like DDoS attacks and stuff like that. But you absolutely have to ask them for permission and tell AWS exactly what you want to do, and they have the right to say no.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's
So,
so difficult to pen test in cloud networks because you are really limited in what you're allowed to do.
but you said that this book was really hard to write, but there's like some sense of accomplishment from writing it, right? So you said you're proud, so yeah, probably it was a challenge. That's why it like tastes better that it's out. Yeah, so I think it's a good book. I read it today, and it was introduction into cloud, and it's really well explained. And there's three most important vendors there. So yeah, I think it's a really good book. Yeah.
I, yeah, yeah, and I've got the Spanish version too.
Oh,
I think, yeah, this is the Spanish version.
nice. So you
Kosher,
like expanding languages.
I do not speak a word of Spanish, so this was translated. Let me credit the translator. Yeah, so the translator is Beatriz Goyanes Arnido. So kudos to you, Ms. Arnido. And I looked all through here and everything is intact, even the dedications and all that. Nothing was lost in translation. Everything is included here. So it's a real honor to be published in Spanish.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing that you are not only English book writer, like English language, but also like maybe Polish soon. Fingers crossed.
Well, if you can get a Polish publisher interested, I would be honored to be published in Polish.
I like a challenge, so yeah. Okay.
O'Reilly has a department where they work with other international publishers. So yeah, we can get the hookup, right?
That's actually interesting idea. What book did I forget to mention, and you want to talk about it here?
Okay, well, I guess since we're going through my entire bibliography, there's this hidden gem, which is 8 Steps to Better Security, a simple cyber resilience guide for business. And this is more of a manual for business people on if they have little to no cybersecurity program, how do they go about starting one?
So
So,
it's like maybe like a good book to learn to speak to business people about technical things. I have
absolutely.
I have to read that one.
Yeah, I mean, each of these books takes me, I would say, roughly about a year to write. So I'm really, really honored that people have enjoyed them and that you're a fan. And it makes everything worthwhile to me. And I'm just really honored. I really thank you a lot.
Thank you for writing those because I'm a bookworm myself, so you just like it's like a whole new world. Yeah, sorry for saying. But yeah, I really love your books, and you have this very natural way of sharing your knowledge, explaining things. There's a flow to them, and like not all every author has these powers like you do. So that's why I think you are a special author. And yeah, I will.
My advice to writers is to write as if you're having a conversation. You're explaining something to your intelligent friend. I say intelligent friend, you should always assume that your readers are intelligent. And and if you're writing with the mindset of you're explaining something to your intelligent friend, I think that usually works pretty well,
Yeah,
right? Because and you know, there's room to have a sense of humor and to have fun. And I really like to convey my emotions in my words because everyone is emotional. We're emotional beings, and I think it's easier to understand and absorb information if you can make someone feel and understand why the information is important to them.
and so I wanted to say more about the intelligent friend thing. I think that was the thing that I really liked at your book because it's like you are talking at my level through your books, and some authors. I didn't experience that in cyber, but other books. For example, I read about neuroscience, and the author was explaining things like he was talking down, like the person that is reading is less intelligent than him. So I felt like this is condescending. You know what I'm trying to say. So I really like your point of view on this. And hope on your side no sound issues because my laptop is really hot right now. So we are warming up the atmosphere. So okay, I wanted to ask you about, yeah, I read it in actually in both of your books, but I saw it here. You have a dedication to Ossington, Amelia,
Yeah.
Foley. Uh, thank you for your naps and cuddles. Can you say more about, because I think this is your
Yeah.
fur
Um,
family.
I am probably very eccentric, but they're stuffed animals. Ossington is a teddy bear, and Amelia is a teddy bear, and the rest of them are different types of stuffed animals. And yeah, I mean, if I didn't get a good sleep every night, then it would negatively impact my work. So there are a lot of adults who would thank their teddy bears, but why not? I think Ossington has worked hard enough on making sure that I sleep properly that he deserves the credit.
I mention it because I think it's really sweet, and I thought like it's really special and cool that you mentioned that in your you mentioned other people like your partner and your father, but this felt like really special and give me like this bubbly, cuddly feeling of, oh, this I like her, like, yeah, she's special. And so I'm actually even impressed that you mentioned that in your book. Yeah, you're only.
Ossington, Ossington is on Blue Sky. So I will share his Blue Sky address if anyone's curious. So it's no, no, Ossington the Bear. He's a little too shy to go on the stream, but that's his Blue Sky account.
Okay, so my idea of this was because you gave interview for the Tribe of Hackers book, and it was like 13 years ago, and I was wondering, I don't know, do you regret something that you said, or maybe not? And do you want to say it in a different way now? So I will ask some of the questions that were asked to you there. I hope that is okay.
Yeah.
They were like pretty good questions, actually. Yeah, so how did you get started in the cybersecurity field, and what advice would you give to a beginner pursuing a career in cybersecurity?
So yeah, I grew up with creative writing, and I worked in desktop support when I was in my 20s, and I dealt with a lot of malware problems. I think I've if I closed 30 tickets in a day, maybe 25 of them involved malware. And this was in an era where like Windows consumer malware was really bad. So that was in the 2000 knots. And I was supporting Windows XP and Windows Vista. And a lot of people had Internet Explorer 6, which is a notoriously bad web browser.
Yes.
And sometimes I would remote into a customer's computer and launch Internet Explorer 6, and more than half of the screen would be toolbars. So we were in that era of consumer computing, and it was tough. And I think those were some of the last years that consumer ransomware was more common. So, like Bitcoin didn't exist until 2009. So before 2009, there was ransomware, but ransomware would demand a credit card number. So anytime that I was at work when I was a desktop support agent, there'd usually be someone a few cubicles over who'd be saying to the phone, "No, don't give them your credit card number. But I just want to get rid of it. I just want access to my computer again. No, no, don't get them your credit card number, please." So it's really cool how I got to like now ransomware is mainly an enterprise issue, right? Like we have cryptocurrencies which cyber attackers use to demand payment for the ransomware, and they target enterprises because they could get like $100,000, $500,000, $1 million from one ransom, right? Whereas if consumer ransomware, you target an ordinary person, you'd be very like lucky to get a few $100s out of them, right? So it's really neat how I got to see some of these different types of cyber threats evolve and change over the years, definitely. And I think that's where I got the cybersecurity bug. When you're thrown into the fire and you've got to fix these malware problems that people are having.
I have a question from the chat now. Uh, Kim, do you have something like a note-taking system to build like a second brain, if that is even a thing?
Yes. All of my notes that I am okay with having Google have access to, I use Google Keep. So if it, and I have ADHD, so sometimes it's very difficult to remember everything that I need to do. So sometimes I will on Google Keep make a note like, here are some links that are good research for something that you're going to be doing, for instance. Obviously, because I know that it's Google and it's on Google's infrastructure and it's Google's software as a service application, I don't put on anything on there that would be really private to me. But it is, I mean, if there are alternatives to Google Keep as well, there's like Evernote, I believe. Evernote was the first note-taking app like that. If they work for you and they work for me, then I encourage you that you use them. Just make sure that you don't make any notes that would be a bad idea for Google employees to see. That's all.
And on my side, I use Notion because I really like the Kanban board and like I'm a really task-oriented person. So if I can move it around from to do or to done, then my day is
How,
perfect.
is that a lot like Evernote or Google Keep?
Yeah, maybe because it's a note-taking tool, but I really like that they have a Kanban board with a you can create tasks for yourself. Yeah, it really helps me with my learning process as well.
Notion, I will check that out. Thank you for your recommendation.
You're welcome. And the next question is, do you need a college degree or certification to be a cybersecurity professional?
Unfortunately, a lot of employers will expect certain certifications, yeah. So if you're looking to enter the field, what I would recommend that you do is go to LinkedIn and have an idea of what kind of cybersecurity jobs you're interested in. Like, are you interested in being a pen tester? Are you interested in working in digital forensics? Are you interested in being sometimes they call SOC analysts security analysts, right? But explore the different types of careers because obviously what employers expect from those different types of jobs will be different. And then look at job postings for those sorts of job titles and see what they're asking for. Now, a lot of employers have no idea what they're doing and they will demand like a CISSP for roles that shouldn't require one. That's a very big problem in this industry. But it will give you a good general sense of what employers are looking for. And I really, really don't like it. I think for entry level roles, like I agree with Naomi Buckwalter on LinkedIn. I think for entry level roles, you shouldn't be expected to have any certifications for entry level roles. Like I'm not saying like an advanced role, right?
Mhm.
But unfortunately, capitalism sucks and employers are greedy and employers uh, are really unreasonable and you might have to get some certifications. If you want to work in security operations, then the CISSP could be really useful. Now, I I got my CISSP last year. It's all about security operations. That's what the CISSP is about. So it's not going to be very useful to you if you want to learn how to security test applications, for instance, right? It's more like how should companies be writing security policy? How should companies be handling their data and whatnot? But one of the problems with the CISSP is it's very expensive to write. Like it cost me over $1,000 to write my exam. And it's really unreasonable to expect someone who's struggling to find work to spend that much money on it. Employers should really be paying for these certs for other people. But some other certs that might be useful to you, depending on what area you want to get into, and they're more affordable to get than the CISSP. I would say like the CompTIA Security Plus is a good one, and the Network Plus, and I believe there is a CompTIA Security. Yeah, there's
Yeah, A plus.
Linux Plus and Security Plus and Network Plus are good ones to get. Um, if you're going to be working in network security, it might be useful to get some Cisco certs, like a CCNA, for instance. ISACA's got some good certs, but it'll vary greatly depending on the area that you're getting into. And then also, I am teaching a college program at the Open Institute of Technology starting this September, and that my students are a lot of people who are looking to enter the field as well. And I presume like my course is based on the idea that my students should understand as many areas of cybersecurity as possible. They might not have chosen a specialty yet. So I mean, OPIT, the Open Institute of Technology, the tuition does cost money, and I'm not aware of there being any scholarships for it. but you might want to check it out. The tuition is more affordable than some other accredited schools. So their website is OPIT, so opit.com. You might want to check that out. If you want to be a pen tester, there's the Pentesting Blueprint book to check out. I would also really recommend getting involved with Capture the Flag competitions. And because even if you don't win a Capture the Flag competition, simply participating is something that looks good on a resume, and it could be a good networking opportunity for you. I definitely, like, I used to work for Hack the Box. I would recommend trying out Hack the Box, and Try Hack Me would be good too. And there's a lot of education that you can get from those platforms for free. And also there are low cost. If you pay them a little bit of money each month, you get access to more virtual machines and more education as well. And like Hack the Box, and I believe Try Hack Me and Offensive Security, they have their own job boards. They make referrals. So if like you do well hacking a lot of their virtual machines, that could be your foot in the door with a particular employer if you want to be a pen tester. So yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways to go about it. And I really wish you the best. But yeah, start with LinkedIn and get an idea of what employers are looking for in whichever type of role that you're looking at.
And to add to the certifications for pen testing, I think OICP is very notable
Yes.
as well.
OSCP, the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker. More people would recommend the OSCP than the CEH, but it's it could be useful to get both. And also, if you participate with Hack the Box and Try Hack Me, and Offensive Security has the OSCP, right? So yeah, you can get all kinds of smaller like diplomas and whatnot from Hack the Box and Try Hack Me as well. The OSCP is not an entry level pen testing certification. I believe that Offensive Security has a level that's a little bit lower that you might want to start with. Any experience that you can get, anything that you can say that I've made this much progress on virtual machines, on Hack the Box, Offensive Security, Try Hack Me, that'll all help. Pentester Academy, that's the other one. That will all help you a great deal.
Great advice from Kim here. And I have a question from the chat. What books in digital forensics do you recommend? Do you have any?
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly, Computer Forensics for Dummies by Carol Pollard is really highly rated, so you might want to check that one out. Pact, which is the publishing company that published my book, Cloud Pen Testing for Red Teamers, they have several digital forensics titles. You might want to look into digital forensics with Kali Linux. Because if you're working in digital forensics, you're going to probably be using Kali Linux a lot. So that would be a good one to start with. There are hundreds of other books that would also be very useful, but it really depends on what type of technologies you're performing digital forensics works in. For instance, there's all kinds of books on digital forensics in Linux. There's, as far as like the Linux world is concerned, there are books that specialize on digital forensics in Red Hat specifically, or in Debian specifically. There's digital forensics in Windows. Because mobile devices are so important now, there's all kinds of books that specialize in digital forensics for Android and iOS. So you might want to start the more general titles, like digital forensics with Kali Linux. So Kali Linux is the software that you're using to perform digital forensics, not the target of your digital forensics. So that would be a good like introductory book. And what's really neat about Kali Linux and Parrot is you can download those operating systems right now. And like Dorota knows all of this, and you probably have a lot of experience in the area, but even if you have no experience, you can go to their website, you can download those operating systems for free because it's free and open source software. And I would highly recommend giving it a try, just seeing what kind of applications are included in each of those operating systems. Running Kali or Parrot as a virtual machine is a very good option. And most VMware applications do cost money to use, but if you just want to run a virtual machine for trying Kali Linux out, I would recommend using Oracle VirtualBox, which is a free virtualization client. Some of the VMware virtualization clients that you pay for can be better for some things because it's better at emulating different types of hardware and different types of networking interfaces and stuff like that. But if you just want to do very basic virtual machine stuff, then Oracle VirtualBox is definitely a good choice.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I use both. So at first I used the VirtualBox from Oracle, but then I used the VMware one because I needed that version for the OCP exam, and I kind of stayed with it. So yeah, I do agree, and very good answer. And there's another question, but what is an information security leader? How is that defined?
All right, so a CISO stands for Chief Information Security Officer. And I have known a lot of CISOs over the years, and it is a very, very difficult job. So it is a C-suite role, and C-suite means that you're one of the corporate executives. So some C-suite roles that almost all companies with a C-suite have are CEO, and then like CTO and CFO. So CTO, Chief Technical Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Some companies have a CIO, Chief Information Officer, and stuff like that. Not all companies have a CISO, but the ones that do, if there is a CISO, you are in charge of that company's cybersecurity program at the executive level. And the simplest way to describe what their job is you're the go-between between the other corporate executives and the security practitioners. So one of the most common problems that CISOs have is a certain amount of money has to be spent on hiring and paying security staff and paying security solutions vendors and stuff like that. And what CISOs have told me over and over again is it's very difficult for them to get the money that they need to run a cybersecurity program because the CFO does not want to spend the money. So, and if your company loses a lot of money and a lot of like really destructive cyber attacks, the CISO gets most of the blame. So the CISO job pays very highly because it's a C-suite job, but it's incredibly stressful. A vCISO is not necessarily someone who works inside the company. It's more an outside consultant who offers the same advice that a CISO would offer, such as how to run a cybersecurity program, for instance. And if you go into the cybersecurity community on LinkedIn, a lot of people are vCISOs. And it might be the way to go for a lot of people.
To get back to your point of view, I think this is a very ungrateful job because you have to talk with the business, and business doesn't really want to spend the money, and then there's a breach, and it's like, oh, I told you this will happen, and you get the blame. So it's like, I don't know, it's like a very ungrateful job, I think.
Imagine what Crowdstrike CISOs are going through right now.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yes.
probably They're probably drinking really hard right now.
Yeah. Or skydiving somewhere because there's a lot of adrenaline. I don't know. Okay, so next question. What is your specialty in cybersecurity and how can others gain expertise in that specialty?
As far as my cybersecurity knowledge is concerned, even though I've written books about pen testing and worked for Hack the Box, and I do understand pen testing quite well, I'm more of a generalist. So I understand the defensive roles quite well, like SOC analyst, DFIR, whatnot. I'm interested in pen testing, obviously, because I've written about that professionally. I'm interested in policy. I'm interested in SecOps in general. Um, one, so I'm a jack of all trades, more or less. I guess what makes me special is I'm a communicator. I share knowledge about cybersecurity. And there isn't, there are all kinds of certifications for different areas of cybersecurity, but there isn't really a certification for teaching cybersecurity or writing about cybersecurity. So um, if you want to get into doing what I do, which is like I started as a cybersecurity blogger, I am writing books and whatnot, I would recommend starting your own blog, and probably the best platform to get attention for that sort of stuff these days is LinkedIn. It used to be Twitter, it used to be InfoSec Twitter, but then the changes that Elon Musk made killed InfoSec Twitter. So write blogs about areas of cybersecurity that interest you, or about cyber incidents that interest you, and just post, keep posting them. And that's part of how I got where I am today, by posting that sort of stuff on social media. And I was not successful overnight. It took me several years to get to a point where I was, I had a career and a livelihood from it. So it might help to maintain a day job while you're doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there isn't really an obvious clear career path to doing what I do. So, and then like the professor thing, like I was off. I did not apply for a job at OPIT. They approached me, and I got that opportunity in academia basically just by putting myself out there on the internet, on social media. But it takes years. It takes so many years. So I always recommend, yeah, have a day job, have alternative sources of income, because it takes a long time to get there. Persistence.
It's a very important character trait for everyone in cybersecurity to be persistent, to believe in yourself. This is my take on this. Don't give up on your dreams. Have a goal for yourself. So, to a bit elaborate on your story, I wanted to share my side of things that I, I believe I'm a community builder. So, I really liked my job at Yogosha. Where I was responsible for the hacker community, opened my mind into who I actually am as a person, and I'm also a learner, and I love pen testing. So yeah, so that's why Twitch is here, that channel, so I can build my own community in a way. So yeah, just wanted to share that.
You are doing a great job, because I'm an introvert, and you have such a great lineup of guests in the next few weeks. I've seen some names that I recognize there. So you're really great at getting the hacker community together, in my opinion.
I used to be a very shy person, and I'm also an introvert. So going live and going on podcasts and even going on stage to present a keynote is stressful for me. And afterwards, I have like heart palpitations and I have to cool down for a while. But it's so rewarding because you don't you cannot stay like hidden whole life. You have to share your gifts and share your visions with the world. So Yeah, and thank you for saying that. I think, yeah, actually, I think this is amazing as well. Okay, next question. What is your advice for career success when it comes to getting hired, climbing the corporate ladder, or starting a company in cybersecurity?
I can't give you advice about starting a company because I'm not a business person, and the idea of running my own business would really scare me. So I can't advise you about that. But I think what I was going to get into with the last question was use LinkedIn to network with people. There are a lot of if you're starting from scratch, go on LinkedIn, search for cybersecurity, find the most prominent people with a lot of followers, and try and get connected with them. Eventually, someone who has several thousand followers or more might agree to becoming a contact of yours, and you might have to work at it each and every day. Like don't annoy anyone, but give it a shot. Like send messages to people, try and connect with people, and build a platform that way. And if you want to get a job, and if you want the kind of visibility that you need to acquire in order to be successful, then that's a great way to start, in my opinion. So that's as far as getting a job is concerned. But starting a business, I'm clueless about that.
Yeah, actually, it's something I'm thinking about myself, but still, like many steps before me, before I go there. But I think it's an interesting path for people that are not afraid to take risks or just went through a lot in their life. I went through a lot in my life, so I don't think I have anything to lose anymore. So maybe that makes me more fierce, or
Fearless, yeah, that's perfect.
how is it that cybersecurity spending is increasing, but breaches are still happening?
Okay, that is an excellent question and a very complicated one. I think, I think computer networks these days are a lot more complicated than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Companies have a real hard time with visibility into their networks, right? And it's more complicated now because a lot of companies, they have hybrid cloud networks and they have multi-cloud networks. There's a lot of parts of their networks that they don't have visibility into because employees use their own devices, for instance, or they transfer company data onto their own devices. I mean, it's important to spend more money on cybersecurity, but it might be it's the attack surface of a lot of companies just by being on the cloud, having a lot of data in software as a service applications, such as like a big software as a service application that a lot of companies use is Google Drive, and like the Google Office suite, for instance, the Google Docs. Um, when people bring their own devices into the workplace, I am a big fan of working from home. There's a way to do that securely. But if you don't do that securely, then you are introducing another like really big cyber attack surface there. So maybe they're not always spending their money wisely to be able to log everything in their network better and to crack down on things like shadow IT and stuff like that. So it's just like a very complicated problem, and also simply spending a lot of money isn't enough. It needs to be spent wisely, right? So it's a very complicated problem, but that's a very good question.
And I have three more questions, and then if you have any more questions, please write them in the chat. We'll ask those to Kim. But if aren't any more questions, I think that will be a wrap after my questions. So just heads up, no one is surprised here. Okay, I want to connect two questions in one. So, what is your favorite hacker movie? And I'm also interested, what's your favorite music band?
If my romantic partner is listening, he's probably going to want me to say Jay Schizoid. Um, I think my partner is a very creative musician. Um, Not exactly my genre of music though. But if you want to listen to my partner's music, he's on Spotify. I believe he's on Spotify under J, so the initial J, and then Schizoid, as in SCH SCHZOID, I believe. Um, I am goth, but I really like, jazz music and funk music, and I I'm a big fan of yacht rock, believe it or not. So I'm a big fan of like Michael McDonald, and so there are so many different musicians that I like. And it usually surprises people because people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you like Nine Inch Nails," whereas I'm listening to some like really cheesy, easy listening like Spyro Gyra like stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of like expecting you say Behemoth or like yeah, actually yeah, but I like Jamiroquai as well, so uh, respect. And what is your favorite hacker movie?
My favorite hacker movie, I believe, and I've written about this in Hacker Culture A to Z. Hackers, the 1995 Angelina Jolie movie, has grown on me in the years since it came out. Although they might not be technically accurate cyber attacks, I think they get the spirit of hacker culture really well. I prefer it to war games, quite honestly. The kind of fun, badass kind of attitude that the characters have. So yeah, I would say that would be my favorite hacking related movie. So wouldn't that be cool if your work as a pen tester was like that, Dorota? If
Yeah,
you did a pen test and you are on some spaceship going through like skyscrapers and stuff.
yeah, and actually I thought my job was going to look a lot like Mr. Robot TV show, but apparently it's a lot of report writing, so it's not as fun, but still very very rewarding. And I wanted to add okay, one of my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah, go
movies.
ahead.
Yeah, I really like Matrix. I think I watched it like 100 times. Yeah, yeah, IT Crowd. Someone mentioned it's a good TV show. I think
Yeah, I think The Matrix is good.
yeah, it's because of the like badass, like leather jackets, kind of a vibe there. I think I like the aesthetic of the movie.
They did a really good job with that.
Yeah. What are your favorite books for motivation, personal development, or enjoyment? What do you like reading?
Oh, when I'm not reading about cybersecurity, I read a lot of manga, which are, if you probably know what manga is, they're like Japanese comics. So a lot of what's on my bookshelf is manga, and I also read manga on my phone. Um, One manga series that I've been reading recently, which is really kind of weird, is called Reborn as a Polar. Yeah, I'll get the title here. It's called Reborn as a Polar Bear: How I Became a Forest Guardian.
Oh, that's so cute.
And I really love Sailor Moon manga as well. I'm a big fan of the mangaka Arina Tanemura. Um, I have some Ghost in the Shell. Like if you like cyberpunk stuff, I have some Ghost in the Shell manga as well on my bookshelf. So I
Because
also love reading celebrity autobiographies.
I'm having experiencing a lot of emotions here, so I'm trying to stay calm here. I just want to say I love you so much, Kim. And like my first anime I ever watched was Sailor Moon, and I kind of like was a thing that was really interest me in Japan. Oh, Sailor Saturn, right?
Yeah, I got a
Uh,
Sailor Saturn
so
figure. I
I'm
did.
really like Sailor Moon, Usagi Tsukino. I'm very emotional, sometimes a crybaby and a big heart, So, uh, and yeah, I think she like that anime taught me a lot about life as well. So that
I,
friendship is important, and yeah, and
you would love to look around my apartment because I've got so much Sailor Moon stuff in my apartment.
I would be like,
I've got like anime on DVD. I've got you can't see it, but on posters that aren't facing the camera, I've got like Sailor Moon posters on the wall and stuff. We have that in common. That's really
yay! Oh
I
yeah,
think I think Naoka Takuchi, she kind of captured a sort of fantasy that is really captivating for a lot of people, especially women and girls and gay men. That's who Sailor Moon really resonates with. So
yeah, because it was girl power and like it's not. Yeah, how I understand is like this male-dominated world, but there are girl heroines that are super badass and very powerful, and they are saving the world. Actually, it was like also something that pulled me into really liking Wonder Woman because she's a female badass heroine that just gets the job done and is very powerful. So okay, okay, let's not. I have two more questions. I have more, but yeah, I will just not keep you here for too long. So they are a bit connected to each other. So first one, what is your biggest mistake you've ever made, and how did you recover from it? If you can share it, if you want to. And the other one is what do you feel was your biggest win in life?
so biggest mistake in general and not just personally. I was a very lonely teenager and I had a lot of insecurities. And in my teenage years and in my early 20s, I got into a lot of relationships that were very abusive. And I think if I had a better understanding, when I was a teenager, I thought that no one would want to, well, not no one would want to fall in love with me, but I thought that if someone took an interest in me romantically, that I gotta be really grateful for that. I wish I had the confidence when I was a teenager to be a bit more picky about my romantic partners. So I've survived a lot of abusive relationships, and I would definitely 40-year-old me would definitely advise like 15, 16-year-old me to pursue better relationships than I did. Um, Now, my greatest triumph, I guess, professionally would be writing those books that we've discussed and becoming a college professor. My school knows this, so, but I never got a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. I got this job just based on my industry knowledge and partly on my books as well. And that's a very unconventional route for an academic to take. Like most of the time, you're not going to get a professor job unless you have a college or university education. So
Yeah.
to try to kind of stumble into an academic career, it feels really weird. It's a big responsibility. I guess that would be one of my biggest professional accomplishments. But yeah.
Yeah, so from my side, I wanted to say that this is super special, and you're showing to others that this is possible. So it's like a beacon of hope in a way for others that if they want to teach, look, Kim is doing that, and no degree from the university or not no Harvard, no I don't know posh degree there, and she just is awesome by herself, and like she has a lot of knowledge, and she really likes sharing it with the world, and she's really good at it. So I think it was a good call from the university side to hire you and to give you a chance in a way. So yeah, fingers crossed for your career, and yeah, I'm really happy for you that this happened. And
Thank
so
you.
I have no more questions for you, but if you have anything to say at the end, then please go ahead.
Yeah, I, I, I very strongly recommend wearing a respirator because we are in an airborne pandemic. I believe I wrote about that in Agriculture A to Z, that I strongly recommend that you wear a respirator mask in public to protect yourself from COVID. And yeah, and there is so much to explore online, and there's lots of interesting, great people to meet. And I really wish everyone here the best in life. And I will be checking out your Twitch channel in the future, and you've got a lot of great guests coming up. So this Twitch channel of yours is off to a great start, and I'm really happy about it.
Me too. Thank you. And I'm really grateful that you came. Yeah, actually on two of my streams already, so that you were willing to introduce me to the community on my first stream, and now talking with me, and like this is amazing. So I feel we are besties already, and I think we bonded through Sailor Moon a bit as well. So thank you so much,
It's been great. Thank you.
and bye.
Bye.